Welcome to TarantulasDreamTV. You are watching a previously recorded broadcast. Tune in every Monday and Wednesday from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Instagram at TarantulasDreamTV for new episodes. And remember, it is a weird, weird world.
And the truth is coming out about Google and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, and that is all related to the 2020 upcoming elections. But they do it to many, many other people, many other truthers, just not me. But they sure as hell do not want you to believe or understand or educate yourself to the fact of the matter that our solar system has been invaded by another system. A system of objects that we do not know exactly what they are as of yet. Now, I'm sure that NASA and the ESA, the European Space Agency, and probably Russia and China probably have a really good idea of the composition of some of these objects and possibly what they even are.
It is intended for the entertainment and instruction of broad-minded adults only, and should not be played to or sold to minors under any circumstances whatsoever. Thank you.
Broadcasting from the floating pie pan in the sky at Groom Lake Analog Recordings. Welcome to TarantulasDreamTV. Now here's your host, Samba.
Hello everybody, welcome to another broadcast of TarantulasDreamTV. I am your host,
Samba.
And here we go again, Planet X this week, folks. We're going to get into some theories of Planet X, mostly the theories of Zecharia Sitchin, someone's you all might be familiar with if you're fans of the hit TV show Ancient Aliens. And if not, then if this is your first time hearing about Zecharia Sitchin, then here we go. You'll hopefully have a good time learning about the old Planet X aficionado. Phone number for the show is 520-704-7820 at 9:30. Opening up the phone lines for open lines. So if you have any questions or comments for Samba over here, if you've seen Planet X yourself, if you want to tell some stories about a mystery sighting in the sky, if you're a little scared about the idea of a planet potentially crashing into the Earth and destroying all life as we know it, feel free to give me a call at 9:30 during open lines. Again, this is Tarantulas Dream TV. I am your host Samba, and I'm glad to be here tonight. It's Wednesday. We made it right here to Hump Day, right in the hump of the week. So I'm hoping that everyone's having a good hump day, a good middle of the week. I don't know. It's been, again, pretty slow over here in the studio. Nothing too crazy happening currently. Well, that's not necessarily true, but we'll get into that later. But at any rate, I hope everyone's doing fine out there. So before we get into the meat of the night, I want to read a couple headlines for you. First one is from CNN.com. AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine study put on hold due to suspected adverse reaction in participant in the UK. A large phase 3 study testing a COVID-19 vaccine being developed by AstraZeneca and the University of Oxford at dozens of sites across the U.S. has been put on hold due to a suspected serious adverse reaction in a participant in the United Kingdom. A spokesperson for AstraZeneca, a frontrunner in the race for a COVID-19 vaccine, said in a statement that the company's standard review process triggered a pause to vaccination to allow review of safety data. In a follow-up statement, AstraZeneca said it initiated the study hold. The nature of the adverse reaction and when it happened were not immediately known, though the participant is expected to recover, according to an individual familiar with the matter. So, not the greatest news in regards to this AstraZeneca vaccine. This is seen, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine trial, or this vaccine is kind of the front runner with the many vaccines that are being tested right now. So, an adverse reaction isn't necessarily something to really worry about per se. This is a standard procedure to kind of halt a trial when something like this happens. So it doesn't necessarily mean that this particular vaccine will fail, but it is something to pay attention to as we draw closer to the sort of expected timeline of when vaccines will be available for COVID-19. So not the greatest news, but not the end of the world either. In the second headline, Tucson Mayor and City Council pass emergency climate change bill. Tucson Mayor Regina Romero and the Tucson City Council have passed an emergency climate change bill that builds on the Green New Deal announced by Democrats in Congress. The Tucson City Council has committed to becoming carbon neutral by 2030. Highlights of the bill include a plan to upgrade city facilities to 100% renewable energy. Electrification and fossil fuel phase-out involves upgrading and replacing carbon-intensive fossil fuel-based infrastructure and combustion power owned by the city with clean, renewable, generated electric power, and carbon sequestration. I believe that's how you pronounce that, involves drawing down carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases from the atmosphere through ecological and or technological methods. A big concern is the price tag for the Tucson taxpayer. Since the city council declared this an emergency, the resolution was declared effective immediately. Now, I've heard these arguments before about these sort of Green New Deal or these trying to pass these bills to kind of move us towards a greener future, costing the taxpayer a lot of money. Personally, I think that's just the name of the game. We're going to have to contribute some money to kind of update infrastructure to move past fossil fuels. It's not going to be a free, easy process, and if it means having to pay a little bit more in taxes to make this happen for the longevity of the planet, for us, and if we have children, and just for future generations and for the planet itself, I think it's worth it. So I'm hoping people will see that as well, as this is a worthy endeavor to kind of bring us towards a 100% carbon neutral by 2030. So I'm hoping there's not too much blowback from this, but I expect there to be some blowback, as some people are not a fan of the Green New Deal or don't really see this as climate change as much of an issue. Probably not people in California right now, because they're dealing with quite a bit of climate change causing issues. I mean, I'm sure people on the air have seen some of the pictures coming out of the Bay Area, San Francisco. It's looking pretty hellish out there with all the fires burning, and it's not something I particularly would want to deal with, and it's just going to keep getting worse if we don't make some moves to try to move the country towards a greener future. But anyways, that was headlines for the night. So let's get into the meat of the night. So on Monday, I talked about Planet X. I kind of went through a little bit of the history of Planet X, why it's such a big deal to certain people. I also talked about a woman, Nancy Leader, who's run Zetatalks.com. Essentially, she claims that she's being contacted by extraterrestrials from the Zeta Reticuli system, the Zetas, who are giving her information in regards to this rogue planet, essentially, that's in our solar system, that makes its way through our solar system every 3,600 years, and potentially could bring catastrophic damage to the planet, either through storms and tornadoes and rising tides and all that kind of stuff. So tonight we're actually going to get into something a little different. We get into Zecharia Sitchin. Now, like I was saying during the intro, if you watch a lot of Ancient Aliens, he's a really popular person to talk about on Ancient Aliens, along with Eric Von Daniken. They're both big proponents of the idea of ancient aliens or aliens or extraterrestrials being here on the planet much earlier in the past, and potentially helping ancient civilizations build the pyramids, or kind of giving them technology to kind of allow them to evolve and whatnot. So this is coming from Anunnaki.org. Zecharia Sitchin was born on July 11th, 1920 in the Azerbaijan SSR. He grew up in Mandatory Palestine. Having a chance to live in the Near East, he developed a passion for its history and languages. During that time, he picked up a great deal of Hebrew as well as other European and Semitic languages. He later studied at the University of London, where he earned a degree in economic history. Now, following his graduation, Sitchin worked as a journalist and editor in Israel. In 1952, he moved to New York. After becoming an executive for a shipping company, he took the opportunity to travel and visit archaeological sites. During this time, he also taught himself Sumerian cuneiform. So Sitchin has written numerous books covering the topic of ancient alien contact, with many falling into the Earth Chronicles series. His first book, The 12th Planet, kickstarted the series, detailing stories of the Anunnaki, Nibiri, and the human slave race, and more. So he's pretty big in the ancient alien kind of community, and his Earth Chronicles series are frequently cited as kind of some of the main texts of Planet X and kind of our ancient history. So what are Sitchin's main theories? So he says there's another planet in our solar system which is presently undiscovered by modern scientists. It follows a slow elliptical orbit somewhere beyond Neptune and crosses into the inner solar system over 3,600 years or so. This planet may be referred to as Marduk or planet Nibiru. A collision between Nibiru and Tiamat, another hypothesized planet which no longer exists, if it ever did, created the Earth as well as the asteroid belt and the comets. This is the 12th planet. The Sun and the Moon are also counted along with Pluto as planets. Now, Nibiru is home to the Anunnaki, who are also referred to as the Nephilim in the Bible. The Anunnaki engineered the human race as a slave race to help in aiding them in collecting our natural resources, namely gold. Gold was needed to help deflect ultraviolet light from their atmosphere. Originally, the Anunnaki were tasked with retrieving the materials themselves, but grew tired of the harsh working conditions, and thus humanity is born. So this is a pretty common through line with a lot of ancient alien theory, that humanity was genetically engineered as a slave race. And in fact, even someone like Tom DeLonge, who kind of dives in a little bit into the ancient alien kind of perspective, also kind of potentially believes that we're also a slave race at some point, or that at least extraterrestrials are sort of our overlords, our masters. So there you go. Whether you believe that or not, up to you, but potentially we're a slave race. Humans were created through genetic engineering, being created by mixing extraterrestrial or Anunnaki DNA with that of the dominant species on Earth at the time, Homo erectus. Human kings were appointed as intermediaries between the human slaves and the Anunnaki. So we appointed kings to kind of communicate the needs of the people, of the humans, with our Anunnaki overlords. So the Anunnaki sort of ushered in the idea of royalty. The ancient gods of the Sumerian texts were real, most likely being extraterrestrials themselves. The Earth was created when Nibiru crashed into another planet between Mars and Jupiter called Tiamat. Now, this is from Wikipedia.org. Now, in the religion of ancient Babylon, Tiamat is a primordial goddess of the salt sea, mating with Abzu, the god of fresh water, to produce younger gods. She is a symbol of the chaos of primordial creation. She is referred to as a woman and described as the glistening one. It is suggested that there are two parts to the Tiamat mythos, the first in which Tiamat is a creator goddess through a sacred marriage between salt and fresh water, peacefully creating the cosmos through successive generations. In the second myth or story, Tiamat is considered the monstrous embodiment of primordial chaos. Some sources identify her with images of a sea serpent or a dragon. Now, this collision with Tiamat formed the asteroid belt, the comets, and planet Earth. So this theorized collision is essentially what created our planet, as well as I read a little bit later on that I read that it was also created our moon, as well as a few other things here and there. Now, in the lament for Ur. Now, in a Mesopotamian city laments are dirges for ruined cities in the voice of the city's tutelary goddess. A violent storm is responsible for the destruction of the city of Ur. The lament details goddess Ningal, or the goddess of reeds, pleading with Enlil, who's the god of wind, air, earth, and storms, to stop the destruction of the storm. So in this lament, Zecharia Sitchin uses this as proof that there was sort of a nuclear war that happened in the past, which is what he uses to explain why essentially ancient civilizations were kind of wiped out, and that a lot of sort of their buildings and whatnot were ruined. And this is he takes this lament and kind of uses this as proof. So the lament goes, I verily clasped legs, laid hold of arms. Truly I shed my tears before On. Truly I made supplication, I myself before Enlil. May my city not be ravaged. I said to them, may Ur not be ravaged. Alas, storm after storm swept the land together, the great storm of heaven, the ever-roaring storm, the malicious storm which swept over the land, the storm which destroyed cities, the storm which destroyed houses, the storm which destroyed cow pens, the storm which burned sheepfolds, which laid hands on the holy rites, which defiled the weighty council, the storm which cut off all that is good from the land. My step, established for joy, was scorched like an oven. Now, Sitchin used this lament as proof that there was a large-scale battle between the gods or the Anunnaki, with some sort of nuclear device, weaponry being used, causing the evil wind described in the lament. Now, the Great Flood that's described in the Bible is also theorized to be a side effect of Nibiru's arrival on planet Earth. Now, this is from Sitchin.com, so he actually has an official site. The flood was caused by the gravitational pull of Nibiru, causing the Antarctic ice cap to slip into the ocean and create a worldwide tsunami that inundated the Earth. The return of Nibiru every 3,600 or 10,000 years has been said to cause massive destruction, similar to the claims made by Nancy Leader from Zetatalks. Now, the most common time frame for Nibiru's kind of orbit is 3,600 years, but there has been some revisions to that time with the 10,000 year claim stemming from NASA's own revelation that a large planet on the far end of the solar system near Pluto potentially exists with a 10,000 to 20,000 year orbit around the sun. Now, Nibiru is referred to as the 12th planet due to the inclusion of the moon, sun, and Pluto as planets in the Sumerian solar system. So those are some of Zecharia Sitchin's main beliefs when it comes to the Sumerian culture and his kind of translation of the ancient Sumerian texts. Essentially, the entire idea of Nibiru or Planet X kind of comes down to these stories of ancient Sumerian culture. Now, in regards to Nibiru's return, around 2002, Yao USA conducted an interview with Sitchin, as Sitchin had just released The Lost Book of Enki, which is a Sitchin-authored autobiography of the Sumerian god Enki. Now, this is from ancient.eu. Enki, also known as Enkig Nudamud or Ninsuki, was a Sumerian god of wisdom, freshwater, intelligence, trickery, and mischief, crafts, magic, exorcism, healing, creation, virility, fertility, and art. So kind of a god of a bunch of things. Now, Sitchin claims that Enki was the first Anunnaki being to travel to Earth along with his wife and 20 other astronauts searching for gold. So Enki is the OG Anunnaki of planet Earth. Now, towards the end of the interview, Sitchin was asked, according to Nostradamus scholar John Hogue, that the quatrains of Nostradamus predict that the Earth will be destroyed by the expanding sun in the year 3797 AD. Mayan calendars also interpreted to indicate an ending at 2012 AD, and so on. How do such predictions jive with the data on the ancient clay tablets? Now, this is what Sitchin responded with. That mankind's progression from Paleolithic to Mesolithic to Neolithic and then the Great Sumerian Civilization had occurred in intervals of about 3,600 years is a fact. That Anu visited Earth, approved the grant of civilization to mankind, marked by the start of the calendar in Nippur in 3760 BC, which is still the Hebrew Jewish calendar, is certain as far as I am concerned. But as I have tried to explain in my recent seminars, though not yet in a full-length book, the visits to Earth and the nearing, or what is called the perihelion, of Nibiru do not coincide. This is a point of immense significance, which those who have only read my first book somehow ignore. Also, the assumption that the 3,600 years as a perfect mathematical given is also at all times the actual orbital period is untenable. Even the orbit of Halley's Comet, about 75 years, varies from 74 to 76 or so. All attempts to pinpoint a precise date for future arrivals of the planet and or the Anunnaki are thus difficult questions. I will answer them once I am satisfied that, based on historical and astronomical data, I have come up with the right answer. So essentially, Sitchin is saying he doesn't know. He has no clue when the planet X will return or the Anunnaki will return. He's saying, but he's also saying that potentially the Anunnaki could return at any time, but not on the planet. So they could just show up in spacecrafts or through like dimensional rifts or whatnot. There's not necessarily a correlation between the Anunnaki returning and Planet X returning. Now, an article posted on the Healer's Journal entitled Zecharia Sitchin, Nibiru and the End of Days, the author takes a look at Sitchin's work, more specifically his ideas on prophecy and the end of the world. For Zecharia Sitchin, author of the famous Earth Chronicles, a series of 7 books that tracks the interaction by an alien species on our planet in ancient times, this question, along with a myriad of unexplained phenomena, has been the driving force of his life's work. He believes that the fascination, particularly with the mysterious Mayan calendar, which ends on December 21st, 2012, is simply a reflection of a pattern deliberately laid deep within our collective psyche by visitors from another planet. In his latest book, aptly named The End of Days, Armageddon and the Prophecies of the Return, Sitchin addresses these and other questions. Now, in response to when Nibiru is supposed to return to Earth, Sitchin suggests we put our telescopes aside for a while, as Nibiru's next return is not until approximately the year 2900. However, he tantalizingly suggests that any notion that the Anunnaki limited their comings and goings to a single short window at the planet's perigee is incorrect. They could keep coming and going at other times as well, he states, concluding that if the Anunnaki could create a new species and travel in space, a minor glitch such as the movement of their planet would hardly deter them. So even though in one interview he says he doesn't really know when the Planet X or Nibiru is coming back, in this second interview done a little bit later on, he says that it's going to come around 2900. So everyone on the air at this point probably won't be dealing with Planet X or Nibiru if it does end up coming back at some point. So it's not something we really have to worry about, according to Zecharia Sitchin. Of course, our children's children might have to deal with that, and so on and so forth down the line. Someone related to us will probably have to deal with potentially Planet X if it's real. Now, the criticisms of Sitchin. Now, many ancient scholars have criticized Sitchin's work and translations, pointing to his habit of either forming his narratives using the Sumerian tablets text as literal stories of ancient history as opposed to allegories, as well as his mistranslation of the Sumerian language. Now, one such critic, Michael Heiser, creator of SitchinIsWrong.com, writes, "I'm a scholar of biblical and ancient texts manipulated to promote false claims. If I were a lawyer, I'd feel professionally obligated to tell you if someone was giving you bad legal advice. If I was a medical doctor, I'd owe you the truth if I knew the medicine you were taking was bogus or could kill you. If I was an accountant, I'd let you know if a neighbor's tax advice would put you in jail. I am none of those things, but take the analogy to heart. I'm trying to provide the same service in my areas of expertise. I can tell you and show you that what Zecharia Sitchin has written about Nibiru, the Anunnaki, the Book of Genesis, the Nephilim, and a host of other things has absolutely no basis in the real data of the ancient world. I don't doubt that Zecharia Sitchin is a nice guy. He's just wrong, nothing personal." Now, on a section labeled Nibiru on SitchinIsWrong.com, Heiser links to a summary paper I wrote on the word Nibiru in cuneiform text. What follows draws from that paper. It demonstrates the accuracy of my contention that there isn't a single text in the entire cuneiform record that 1. Has Nibiru as a planet beyond Pluto. 2. Connects Nibiru with the Anunnaki. 3. Has Nibiru cycling through our solar system every 3,600 years. And 4. From the summary paper, what do these cuneiform texts tell us about Nibiru, particularly in contradiction to Zecharia Sitchin? And here's the list. So this is the list from that summary paper of what he feels like are proof that Zecharia Sitchin is just mistranslating things and kind of imprinting his own beliefs on these texts. Now, he said, 1, Nibiru is called a star in the text. 2, Nibiru is also called a planet, nearly always Jupiter or Marduk, but once Mercury, and never anything beyond Pluto or the known planets. Number 3, the Sumerians, by their own records, know of only 5 planets and accepted the sun and moon as planets. Number 4, Nibiru is never mentioned in any respect with the Anunnaki. It is never said to have been or been inhabited. Number 5, Nibiru is both a fixed star in some relationship to constellations, whether a member or just in proximity is unknown, that holds them in their course, but is also described as changing position and crossing the sky at times. And number 6, Nibiru is seen every year, which demolishes Sitchin's view of a 3,600-year cycle for Nibiru. He says, hopefully the reader is getting a hint of 2 things. 1, that Sitchin's teachings are false. 2, that there seems to be a warrant for the single scholarly article I referenced in the introduction that postulated Nibiru might be the pole star which has changed position in the sky. Unfortunately, I do not know much about astronomy, so I cannot evaluate this. So if you go to sitchiniswrong.com, it's a pretty detailed site, and the guy does go through a lot of the ancient texts and kind of breaks it down little by little using actual historical sources and education-based sources to kind of make his case on why Zecharia Sitchin is essentially mistranslating and sort of theorizing on things using his own beliefs in extraterrestrials and kind of imprinting those on this particular belief. Now, Zecharia Sitchin died on October 9th, 2010, so unfortunately he is no longer able to kind of make any comments when people, refute him or rebuke him in any way. So unfortunately, that's the end of Zecharia Sitchin, but his beliefs live on and in fact are fairly popular still amongst a lot of people. In the Planet X community. He's still seen as kind of one of the forefathers of spreading the news of Planet X. So if you have any interest in learning more about his theories, just look up Zecharia Sitchin. He's written countless books, at least 7 dedicated on this particular topic. Beyond that, there's companion books he's written as well. So please check out Zecharia Sitchin if you have any interest in ancient alien kind of theories. Now, it's 9:28. I'm going to go to my song of the night in just a second, but I want to check and see what the comments are saying over here, because it looks like we have quite a few of them. Old Adaman, hello. Old Adaman, having a great hump. Las Muletas, he's lying. Mighty hump, if you will. Yes, the suit's too tight. It's giving you a mighty hump. Old Adaman, woohoo. And Old Adaman, Raytheno. What is that? What are you trying to spell over there, Old Adaman? On heater? It's coming out in the wrong order, so I'm not sure. Or no, I don't know what you're trying to say. But anyway, Old Adaman, if you want to re-comment with whatever you were trying to say in all one word, it helped me out and maybe help the listeners out too. It just comes up all in the wrong order on my computer screen over here, so unfortunately I'm not 100% sure what you're getting at over there. Anyway, so it's 9:28. Let's get to my song of the night. The song of the night is by the band Soggy Creep from Olympia, Washington. The song's called Invite, Unfold, and Exhaust from their 2016 album Shallow Drownings. So it's 9:29. After the song, it'll be open lines. Phone number for the show is 520-704-7820 if you'd like to call in and make a comment about Planet X Nibiru, if you want to talk about Zecharia Sitchin, or if you want to talk to old Samba over here on this glorious mighty hump day. So anyway, enjoy the band Soggy Creep. There you go. That was the band Soggy Creep with the song Invite, Unfold, and Exhaust from their 2016 album Shallow Drownings. Now, if you'd like to throw some exhausted bones towards Soggy Creep, the Bandcamp is soggycreep.bandcamp.com. So feel free to throw some soggy bones towards them. I just discovered them the other week, and I really love their album Shallow Drownings. So please check out the band Soggy Creep from Olympia, Washington. The time is 9:33. It is open lines. If you have anything you'd like to call in and talk to Samba about, phone number for the show is 520-704-7820. It is open lines, so whatever you'd like to talk about, even if it's not about Planet X or Nibiru, I'm totally down to talk. It's a little quiet over here on the southwest front, it looks like. Old Adam Man, Raytheon, and Las Maletas is digging this. Well, I'm glad you're digging the band Soggy Creep. So please check them out, Las Maletas and Old Adam Man, Raytheon. What are you getting about with Raytheon? I don't know. I know about Raytheon. But what about Raytheon? Is it? Do they have anything to do with this new Green Deal here in Tucson, Arizona? I'm not sure. We'll let them in. In fact, you all might be my only listeners tonight, so I want to appreciate you all tuning in and trying to talking old Samba over here. Now, it looks like we do have a phone call. Caller, you on the air with Tarantulas Dream TV.
Hello, Samba.
Hello. What can I do for you?
I kind of had a theory developing in my head regarding Planet X and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about how, like, the humans were like a slave race.
Yeah.
I believe that we, in fact, are the Planet X. We're like the test planet. And right now they're turning everything up to 11 in the control booth on the Planet X. They're testing us as slaves to see what we respond to. So they're setting off, their fires. Obviously, they've tested our political fortitude and will and resistance to authoritarianism. And so every facet of our lives is being, cranked way up in order to determine whether or not we're going to be effective slaves, whether we will revolt or whether we will remain docile. And I think right now it's kind of at a 50-50 situation as what these manipulators, testers, overlords, whatever, are observing of us right now.
That's an interesting theory. Now, my question to you is, with everything going on, with all these, the California on fire, all the civil unrest, and plenty of different cities and states here in North America, with the upcoming election and the potential for, violent insurrection, depending on how this election goes, and kind of the rise of mainstream conspiracy theory, particularly QAnon and whatnot. How do you think we're reacting at this point? If they're testing us to see what's going to happen, if we're going to be good slaves or if we're going to revolt, how do you think we're doing with that?
I don't know. I think potentially, China just launched a space shuttle today. It was super secret. Not many people know about it. And I think that is our test right now. We're kind of like ants in an ant farm, very two-dimensional, a little depth there. But I think we need to break through that fourth wall, if you will, reaching out into deep space, outer space, to kind of break free and kind of see, the world from a different perspective. And I think that might prove to these overseers that, maybe we are worthy and maybe we can be spared and maybe we do deserve to know the truth as to what is actually happening to us.
Well, I that's an interesting theory. I will say that there is, in regards to a lot of conspiracy theories with humanity being a slave race, there's kind of a benevolent side of these creatures, of the potentially the Anunnaki, or if you believe in the Zetas, they are trying to get us to evolve. They're trying to get us to spiritually kind of get on their level, and through, like I talked about on Monday, through kind of these natural disasters that are apparently going to be happening because of Planet X or Nibiru. Those who can make it on the other side of that will hopefully kind of have more fortitude, more spiritual kind of strength. So maybe potentially we are being tested to see if we are worthy of our alien overlords. So caller, I'd like to thank you for that theory. It's very interesting.
I have something else to add.
Oh, go right ahead.
If I may.
Oh, sure.
So I also believe that COVID-19 is some kind of agent devised by these beings in order to see if they can kind of put it in us to kind of physically just kind of kickstart that evolution, because I think they've been watching for thousands of years and just we're not doing anything. We're not meeting their expectations. And I think COVID-19 was created by them as a way to try to kickstart that. And there's, they spread throughout the whole world. They know that it was going to do that. And I don't know if it's working. There's people who have, recovered from it. There's one or a couple of people who have gotten it again, and obviously there's so many that have died from it, which is it's a tragedy. So I think that that's another different kind of test. They're just trying all sorts of different things to get us to evolve. And I don't know and spirituality, I don't know that was working for them, so that because there are so many different interpretations of them, coming before us and, appearing as prophets or whatever. But it just got so, so many different interpretations by many different peoples that it failed. So I think now COVID has been a way for them to try and just physiologically within us implant or impart some sort of evolution.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you very much for calling for those theories. I'd say.
Are you trying to get rid of me?
No, I am not trying to get rid of you, caller. I'm just. With COVID-19, let's get into it with COVID-19. So, in reference to your theory, I'd say that it's definitely interesting. I say that it does tie into, like you were saying, with kind of the interpretations of sort of ancient cultures, especially in religion. My kind of speciality when it comes to religion is Christianity. I grew up in a Christian household. I went to a private Christian school that I don't particularly like, but I know a decent amount about the Bible and the Christian religion, and it is I imagine it's kind of a through line through a lot of religions, but it is common that God or the Lord does test the followers, the Christians, the believers, sort of as acts of faith, and to kind of strengthen their resolve and their faith in God. So that is a common thing in religion, and kind of tying that into the idea of potentially these gods, at least through Zecharia Sitchin's series, the gods potentially being Anunnaki aliens. It would make sense that the Anunnaki or it doesn't even have to be Anunnaki. It can be the Greys, it can be the Zetas, what have you. If there are overlords that potentially would want us to spiritually evolve into a higher level to allow us to then commune and join them. One kind of conspiracy theory in the UFO community revolves around the idea that there's sort of like an intergalactic federation of beings out in the universe, and as humans, we're kind of really messing up our opportunity to join this intergalactic galactic federation by not evolving spiritually. So, it's definitely not something that's out of left field. I have heard something very similar to this kind of concept of, through adversity, through these kind of tribulations and disasters, that we might find ourselves in a better spiritual and energetic place after it, if we allow ourselves to grow through this adversity. And with COVID-19, it is definitely, I know for me personally, talking to a lot of people, we've kind of used this time, this kind of quarantine time, to really self-reflect on what we want in our life and what it means to be happy, and what we should be doing to kind of perpetuate these cycles of kind of fulfillment in all different levels. And so if that's something that a lot of people are doing, I feel like that's definitely a good sort of spiritual evolution happening right now. So, I think I might agree with you a little bit on this COVID-19 thing. I don't know if UFOs created it extra or anything, but I think it is doing its job of sort of causing people to reevaluate a lot of things in their life. So, thank you very much for that theory, caller.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. And make sure to take care of that child in the background. They sounded a little unhappy. I don't know if they were listening to the show and they got a little scared with the Anunnaki aliens or something, but make sure to let them know everything's going to be okay.
That was just my wife's ringtone.
Oh, okay. Well, turn your phone off when you're on the radio.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There you go. That was a call, giving us some interesting theories about who the Anunnaki are, or at least sort of alien creatures, potentially, if there are overlords and we're the slave race, of why there would be so many different sort of natural disasters and tribulations this year. I mean, 2020 has definitely been a hell of a year in regards to different tests, I guess you could say, different hurdles that we've been trying to jump through mentally and physically. Whether you believe aliens exist or not, or that we're a slave race, I would hope that at least some of the callers' theories kind of resonate, at least in regards to hopefully we're trying to spiritually evolve a little bit and kind of reach a higher level of consciousness post COVID-19 or whatnot. So we got about 15 minutes into the show. I want to get into Zetatalks comments on Sitchin, because Zetatalk is a big purveyor of these Planet X Nibiru conspiracies, so it makes sense that they'd have some sort of response to Sitchin's theories. Zetatalk does mention Sitchin's work a handful of times on their website, with one particular post being fairly critical of Sitchin's theories. Now, this post from Zetatalk.com was posted on August 15th, 1995, so quite a long time ago, and I wasn't able to find anything else that was a little more recent, a little more modern, so this potentially could be the last thing they've written about Sitchin. And it goes, Sitchin skeptics arm themselves by challenging his conclusions when they are based on ancient Sumerian records that could be interpreted in a number of different ways. Scientists doing research are allowed to present a theory and set out their research to prove or disprove the accuracy of that theory. They are allowed to be wrong or partially wrong and to correct their theory from what is learned and proceed with further research. Sitchin, bearing an alarming message that tends to belittle arrogant humans determined to be God's only creation, or frighten those who cannot deal with the thought of pole shifts or visitations by powerful aliens, is not given this latitude. Where it is clear that the giant hominoids had mastered spaceflight to the extent that man on Earth has with their probes and shuttles and space stations, and where it is clear that the ancient Sumerians were aware of their outer planets, only recently discovered by modern man during the past century, other Sitchin conclusions are not clear as to be based on fact, and thus he lays himself open to criticism. The giant hominoids from the 12th planet tinkered with genetic engineering and doodled their fantasies like science fiction in murals. This has been taken as fact by Sitchin, who failed to consider that these murals might constitute a plan, not past fact. These hominoids did not create man, nor did they create crossbreeds between man and animals, mythological creatures with the bottom half a horse, the top a man. Such creatures would not be created by altering DNA, as any geneticist will confirm, nor would transplanting between incompatible species create such a creature. Just as the Bible talks about the evolution of the earth and mankind in story form, the ancient Sumerian tales about the birth of the planet and Earth's solar system have likewise been written in many cases to be understood by the common man. Were the giant humanoids present during this time? They were not, and were thus speculating from their vantage point, just as human scientists today speculate about the information they receive from their probes and telescopes. Thus, beyond the evidence that these ancient records present about a traveling planet that visits Earth's solar system approximately every 3,600 years or so, these ancient records should be viewed as human documents are today, reflecting on an author's unproved theory, listing the potentials that a plan can bring, or biased by bragging and hyperbole. So, essentially, Zetatalks is kind of, they're not necessarily disagreeing with Sitchin. They're not necessarily saying he's wrong, but they're saying that we should give him some leeway when it comes to his theories and essentially just kind of brushing them off, which is essentially what Zetatalks is doing. They're not necessarily brushing off his theories, but they are saying that genetic engineering did not happen, at least according to Earth scientists, which is interesting because one of the kind of key tenets of Zetatalks is the idea that Nancy Leader is a contactee who is also part of the sort of the genetic engineering program in the past. So she's saying that the genetic engineering is a thing, it exists, but within Zecharia Sitchin's world, potentially not, which is weird. They seem like they would kind of go hand in hand, but they don't. Anyway, so we're kind of coming up to the end of the show, so I'm going to skip forward a little bit to Planet X News. Now, Planet X News is a website and YouTube channel that uploads video evidence of Planet X in our solar system since roughly 2016. So it's not that old. It's kind of a fairly recent Planet X YouTube channel and website, but it has a lot of videos. Scott, the creator of the page / YouTube channel, does not believe that Planet X is linked to any ancient text or story, particularly the story of Wormwood from the Bible, a star that is sometimes attributed to Planet X. Now, the Bible verse that talks about Wormwood, that's kind of gets mixed up with Planet X, goes, "The third angel blew his trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven, blazing like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters become wormwood, and many died from the water because it was made bitter." Now, that's from Revelation, which is obviously the book that a lot of doomsday kind of believers kind of cite as essentially the book you need to read to kind of prepare yourself for the signs of the end of the world. And they say that Wormwood is potentially Planet X or Nibiru. Now, a video posted October 4th, 2016, Nibiri, which was called Nibiru, Planet X, Closer Than Ever. Paul claims that Planet X is easily photographed, with the sun being dimmer than normal, and even asserts that the sun is potentially being faked to hide the existence of Planet X. Now, I do have a clip of that video that I'm going to play for you right now with him talking about this idea of a sun simulator.
Everybody around the world is doing a fantastic job of capturing this mysterious planet in the daytime sky. And the planet is now becoming more and more prevalent all over the world. We are getting photographs in from the United States, South America, over in the Middle East, and a lot in Europe. There are some people we are just now starting to hear from, and those are people in Norway and Sweden. And we've only heard from a handful of these people, but now they are starting to send in photographs that are absolutely amazing. And there is no doubt, folks, the planet is getting much closer, and it is heated up from the sun. And later on today, we're going to prove to everybody that the sun in our sky is fake. We have the photographic evidence, and we are going to produce a video within the next 2 hours, and we are going to show you the actual lenses on this device in outer space. The brown dwarf star is draining energy from the sun. The sun is going dim for at least 1 hour a day. We don't notice it because we are under the influence of this gigantic sun simulator.
There you go. So that was the dude from Planet X News talking about potentially there's a sun simulator that is being used to mask the existence of Planet X or Nibiru. Now, he doesn't refer to Planet X as Nibiru later on in the YouTube channel's life. He just calls it Planet X, or he just calls it Planet X later on, because I feel like he stops believing the idea that Planet X existed in the past. Now, a few days later, another video entitled Nibiru Planet X 100% Proof of Two Suns was uploaded, showing what he claims is proof of a second sun, which is interesting because the last video seems like he's saying that the sun is fake anyway, so why would there be two suns? But anyway, this is him talking about the proof of two suns.
A few months ago, we received an email from a young man who lives in South Africa, and we'll just call him Michael. And Michael works for a TV news station. At the time, he was an intern there at this South African news station. He had sent us an email with this video, and his job at the news station was in what he calls a communications department, answering emails, taking phone calls, things of that nature. He was just an intern. This video was attached to an email from another individual living in South Africa, wanting to know if the news station had seen or heard anything like what is in this video, this second sun. He immediately took this video information to his superior, and the information was squashed immediately. They did nothing with the video. Michael asked about what was in the video, and they simply told him that it was a mirage of sorts. And we've been watching this all day. And for all of the naysayers out there that leave all of the ruthless comments, I really want to hear what you have to say about this, because this is the most damning evidence that I have seen proving 100% that there are two suns in our solar system.
There you go. So that was proof of two suns in our solar system. Despite the fact that in the previous video, Scott kind of theorizes that the sun is actually being simulated, that there isn't a sun in our solar system, or something in that capacity. I don't know. So, from what I can tell, it just kind of looks like the sun is behind some clouds. The lower orb is the sun, and then the above kind of cloud, there's a cloud, the clouds open up, and that's probably just an overexposure of the sunlight coming through the top of the clouds. That's what I see it as, but potentially not. Potentially that's a video of a second sun. You be the judge. So anyway, there's plenty of videos on this Planet X News YouTube channel. I'm running out of time over here on the broadcast, unfortunately, so I won't be able to get into any more of the videos. But if you're interested in looking at Planet X News, he actually has two different YouTube channels. One is a main one is a backup one. But the main one actually has about 96,000 subscribers. So quite a chunk of people are watching his videos talking about Planet X. So, it's a little disconcerting how many people he has as followers, but, I watch some of his videos, and they don't get better than that, essentially. He just kind of kind of yells at you a little bit about Planet X. But anyway, that's the end of the show for tonight. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Tarantula's Dream TV. Let me check out some of these comments real quick before I have to get off the air. Old Adaman, that probably, Old Adaman, that caller sounded very handsome. Honestly, they sounded like a fine, upstanding person, and their physical appearance I could not tell from the phone call, but they had some interesting theories, and I appreciated them calling in. Las Maletas, there's no way that caller is married. Yeah, I don't know. That's also a great theory, Las Maletas. Celia, that caller had a funky voice. Wow, okay, so I hear there's a handsome voice and a funky voice, and I'm not sure which one is the real one. The Chosen One, hello, first-time listener. Maybe you can move the mic a little. We need to see more of that handsome face. Well, I moved it a little bit. I tend to put the mic kind of right in front of my mouth because sometimes the Instagram stream gets a little out of sync for some reason. So I don't know if it's kind of distracting for people to see my mouth move, but the words are like delayed. So that's why I do it. But there you go. There's my face. You can see a little bit better now that I move the mic. Last Maletas, do you think this person can name a country in South America? I don't. I feel like he absolutely cannot. Celia is laughing over there. Eldad Man, Tucson equals Tucson. I mean, it sure is hot enough to feel like there's two suns. But having said that, actually tonight has been the last couple of days. The weather has been pretty nice in the evening. If I could broadcast outside, I would. But it was a pretty nice night out. So two suns or not, let's make sure everyone can go outside every once in a while and experience the weather, the wonderful Tucson weather. Anyways, I will not be back next week. I'm actually going to take another week off because I have some projects I'm working on. I got a backlog of shows I need to edit and post for you all, and also I have sort of some big news and big announcements coming out over here in regards to a new project for Tarantula's Dream TV. So make sure to tune in, the week after next to hear about these big announcements. Anyways, I hope everyone stays safe out there for the rest of the week. Wear a mask if you go outside. Social distance if you can, and remember, it is a weird world. Take care.